Elizabeth Hale woke before the city did. The kind of early morning where even grief feels louder because nothing else is moving. Rain had passed during the night, leaving the windows damp and the air heavy, as if the world itself had paused to watch what would happen next. It was her birthday, 68, and for the first time in 47 years, no one said it out loud. Victor used to whisper it while the kettle boiled. Sometimes with flowers, sometimes with nothing but his hand resting on hers. That hand was gone now. The space beside her was cold in a way that had nothing to do with weather. By noon she was sitting in a leather chair across from a polished desk, listening to a lawyer read numbers that felt unreal. Properties, accounts, investments. The words flowed smoothly, professionally, as if they weren't dismantling a life piece by piece. Her son, Nicholas, sat across the room. Comfortable. He wore confidence the way some men wear watches. Expensive, visible, unquestioned. When the lawyer finally said her name, Elizabeth straightened slightly, expecting something. Anything. Instead she received a single sentence. An industrial garage on the south end of the city. That was it. No apology. No explanation. Nicholas smiled just barely. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes because it doesn't need to. That moment. This is where most stories end. An old woman discarded. A greedy son. A cruel twist of fate. But here is the difference, and this is what separates this story from thousands of others you've heard before. Elizabeth herself did not know the truth yet. Not even she knew she was standing at the edge of something enormous. And that ignorance, pure, honest human, would be the very thing that saved her. 2 hours later she stood alone inside the garage. Concrete floors. Metal walls. Silence so thick it rang. She expected rust, dust, abandonment. Instead, lights flickered on automatically, revealing something that made her knees give way. 3 cars. Covered. Protected. Preserved. Not trophies. Not decorations. Legacies. She uncovered the first with trembling hands. Then the second. Then the third. Each one perfect. Each one impossible. And then she saw the envelope taped carefully behind a steel cabinet. Victor's handwriting. Liz, if you're reading this, it means Nicholas showed you exactly who he is. The letter didn't accuse. It didn't rage. It explained. Victor had known his heart was failing years earlier. He had also known something else. His son's love was conditional. Measured. Transactional. So Victor planned quietly. Cars. Properties. Trusts. Accounts spread thin and hidden deep. Not to punish Nicholas but to protect Elizabeth. To make sure she would never need to beg her own child for dignity. Elizabeth sat on the cold floor and laughed through tears she didn't remember starting. Not because she was rich, but because she was free. Days passed. Then weeks. She slept in the small office attached to the garage at first. A bed already made. Clothes already folded. Victor had thought of everything. Slowly she moved to a small cottage by the coast. A place filled with light, books she loved, and a garden that smelled like beginnings. Nicholas called. Then called again. Then hired people to look for her. By the time he found the garage he knew he'd lost control, but not how much. At this point in the story, around where you might expect revenge or confrontation, something quieter happened instead. Elizabeth didn't rush. She didn't expose him. She watched. And here lies the second value of this story, the one most people miss. Real power does not announce itself. It waits. It listens. It lets others reveal themselves fully. Months later, Nicholas stood inside the cottage, angry, unraveling, holding the letter meant for him. He didn't cry. He didn't apologize. He blamed. He always blamed. Elizabeth didn't argue. He didn't need to. Time did what arguments never could. Nicholas's investments failed. His confidence cracked. The penthouse emptied. Silence replaced entitlement. And Elizabeth, once dismissed, once invisible, became something else entirely. Not cruel. Not triumphant. Just steady. Now pause with me here. Backhand index pointing right if you're still listening, thank you. Stories like this don't work unless you're part of them. If you want more stories that reveal truth slowly, deeply, and honestly, subscribe now and like this video so you don't miss what's already waiting for you. Go watch the previous stories on the channel. They're not just entertainment, they're lessons wrapped in narrative, and they stay with you longer than facts ever do. There's a line from a book that fits perfectly here. Wisdom doesn't shout. It sits quietly until the noise destroys itself. Back to Elizabeth. When Nicholas finally asked for help, it wasn't dramatic. It was small. Almost shameful. She listened. She set conditions. Transparency. Accountability. Respect. He agreed not because he wanted to but because he had nowhere left to stand. Years later, Elizabeth drove the Aston Martin along the coast on quiet mornings. She sold the others. She funded libraries. Housing projects. Things that outlived ego. Nicholas changed too. Fully. Unevenly. But genuinely. The inheritance had done what Victor hoped. It protected one soul and tested another. And if this story left you thinking about dignity, patience, or the quiet strength it takes to wait, then don't leave silently. Backhand index pointing right, leave a comment. Tell me, what would you have done if you were Elizabeth? Your thoughts matter here.